Americans love scenery. We want to see it all, from one coast to the next, Mount Rushmore down to the Everglades. So hop into a Chevy Malibu and take the scenic route. It's the car you knew America could build. There's a place where people count on friendships they can trace back generations, where they can count on the same stool at the coffee shop waiting for them every morning. This place is called Glen Ellen, and you can find it in every bottle of Glen Ellen wine. This is craft brewed Herman Joseph's, the smoothest, easiest drinking specialty beer in the entire solar system. And I believe you'll find drinkable in the dictionary right after don't order a beer you can't drink. Zoingo! Boingo! The freestyle pogo with more boing, more bounce. Bounce further, bounce higher with Zoingo Boingo. To see what makes Arrowhead Mountain Spring water different from those other waters, you have to go back to the source. And with Arrowhead, that means going back a little farther and longer than most. Between security challenged and security strengthened, there's one important word: how. And it is the how that makes all the difference to our nation and our world. Lockheed Martin. We never forget who we're working for. What makes Kraft Singles so good? 2 out of every 3 kids don't get the recommended amount of calcium. But with Kraft Singles, they get a good source of calcium and the taste they love. Kraft Singles. Magic every single time. Throw boring overboard with a new real meal from Long John Silver's. A meal worthy of a plate, just $4.99. Only at Long John Silver's. We may not all be geniuses, but we can all do something smart. Introducing the Hyundai 199 Sonata Lease. It's a smart deal on a really smart car.
You ever had something happen that was so racist that you didn't even get mad? You were just like, God damn, that was racist. I was in Mississippi doing a show, and I go to the restaurant to order some food. I say to the guy, I would like to have, and before I even finish my sentence, he says, the chicken. I could not believe it. This man was absolutely right. I said, how did he know that I was going to get some chicken? I asked him, I said, how you know that? He looked at me like I was crazy. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Now, everybody knew as soon as you walked through the goddamn door, you're going to get some chicken. It is no secret down here that blacks and chickens are quite fond of one another. All these years, I thought I liked chicken because it was delicious. Turns out I'm genetically predisposed.
Good morning. It's Wednesday, Apollo Wednesday, November the 12th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, motivation, meditation, and Apollo. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you. Maria, then Stu.
Welcome back. Let's get some final thoughts from this all-star panel. We are 30 minutes away from the opening bell on Wall Street, and we have a rally underway in record territory. The Dow Industrial is up 115 right now. The Dow hit a new record yesterday. The NASDAQ right now up 162. Kenny Polcari.
Listen, with the indexes making new records, it once again gives people this idea that they're missing out if they're not in, that they feel like they want to chase. This is exactly when you should not be chasing. You should look, you should assess your portfolio, you should look at other opportunities in the markets that are underperforming, not necessarily be chasing tech. On a pullback, sure, buy more tech if you want, but I wouldn't be reaching for it at its highs. There's plenty of other opportunities.
Where are the other opportunities?
So I think there's opportunity in healthcare. Look, it was up it's been the underperformer all year. Yesterday, they took it up 2.5% because it's an area of the market that that's going to find lots of new investment because it's been the underperformer. You see it in industrials, basic materials is going to be another sector. Like biotechnology is a sector that's going to do well, especially if we see rates come down.
And don't forget to try the Bucatini.
Right, and try the Bucatini for sure.
He does a daily note looking at markets, and then at the end of his note, he gives a recipe. And today's recipe is about the Bucatini.
The Bucatini.
You're so good. You're amazing with that. I love that note.
Yeah,
because he's always giving us ideas on what to eat.
I give you food and finance.
Exactly. Final thoughts, David Avella.
Well, I know what I'm going to have for dinner tonight.
Bucatini. Try the Bucatini.
But, we're going to vote today to open the government back up from the House perspective. As much as Mike Johnson was belittled when he became Speaker, he has delivered every time he's had to and stayed true to his way to run the House, and with Scalise has rallied the votes, and President Trump, get ready with your pen.
Yeah, but what is the impact of this government shutdown? 43 days.
Well, we've talked about it. The blip is definitely going to happen, but luckily now air traffic controllers are coming back to work. Flights are going to start happening again. The economy, we can get back to the good days we were having pre this shutdown.
Are you excited about all the data that is coming our way at this point?
I am excited about the data because then we're going to start to get data that can help people make better decisions.
Well, we'll get the inflation data next week, and we'll also get the macro story. I'm just wondering if we're going to see things that we weren't really anticipating with regard to job cuts.
Well, so I think people are preparing for the labor market to get a little bit weaker. I don't think it's falling off the edge, but we'll see.
All right. Great to talk with you both this morning. Thank you so much, David Avella and Kenny Polcari. Thank you. And thank you for being here. We will see you again tomorrow. We get a big show tomorrow, so do join us right here on Mornings with Maria. Varney and Company picks it up now. Stu, take it away.
I will. Good morning, Maria. Good morning, everyone. The House will vote this evening on the formal end to the government shutdown. It's expected to pass by a very narrow margin. The Republicans can afford only to lose 2 seats. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says air traffic controllers will be paid 70% of their back pay within 24 to 48 hours. But he also says if the shutdown continues, the cancellations and delays will be much more widespread. So far today, there have been 884 cancellations, 524 delays, 6% of flights will be affected today. All right, to the markets. More volatility. The Dow set another record Tuesday. It's up another 110 points this morning. Look at that NASDAQ go, up 155. Now, look at AMD. That's part of the reason for NASDAQ's rise. The CEO, Lisa Xu, says there is an insatiable demand for their AI chips. The stock is up a whopping 6% right now. Bitcoin, $105,000. Yes, no, it's 104.8. There you go. Gold, close to $4,100 an ounce, 4,133. Silver, 51.57 per ounce. The 10-year Treasury yields 4.09%. The 2-year at 3.58. All right, on the show today, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. He faces a tsunami of criticism. He shut down the government but got nothing when 8 Democrats voted to end it. The big challenge is coming from younger, more radical Democrats who appear likely to take leadership positions in the party. The giant aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, has arrived on station near Venezuela. The Navy has assembled a huge military force in the Caribbean and in the Eastern Pacific. The dictator, Nicolas Maduro, just mobilized his entire military. Our president says Maduro's days are numbered. Some kind of action appears imminent. And then there's the violence at Berkeley during the tour celebrating Charlie Kirk's legacy. Fistfights, arrests, some attendees kept out of the meeting. The Justice Department has launched an investigation. What happened to free speech? Wednesday, November 12th, 2025.
And that was Maria and Stu, Nonprofit News Now. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, an article in The American Thinker by D. Parker.
It's easy to make the case that communism and fascism are two collectivist, big government, authoritarian ideologies that are stunningly similar. Those trying to claim they are vastly different require a constant psyop of pure BS on their part to stay viable. This is because the plain fact is that evil can never be honest and identify itself. Instead, it has to come in the guise of a talented and charismatic speaker offering freebies. Evil doesn't tell you that you have to give up your freedom in exchange for the seemingly boundless horde of goodies being offered. It also has to deceive and distract with convenient lies that divert attention away from what is truly happening. In the case of the ever-violent collectivist left, they continually beat the drum that, while they might be communists, socialists, or whatever, they are also constantly claiming that they are fighting against fascism at every turn. The National Socialist media and the violent collectivist left do this so often that it's almost become background noise to our daily political discourse. But it's important to knock down this lie because it obscures the true conflict and hides what is at stake. Ideologies can be classified as either collectivist or individualist from a fundamental philosophical standpoint, with these corresponding to the left and right sides of the political spectrum. Fascism is defined as collectivist by the very nature of the word, from the word fascio, plural fasci, bundle, fasces, group. The symbolism is that an individual stick is weak and can easily be broken, whereas a collection of sticks bundled together is far stronger. Political tags, such as royalist, communist, democrat, populist, fascist, liberal, conservative, and so forth, are never basic criteria. The human race divides politically into those who want people to be controlled and those who have no such desire. Robert A. Heinlein. Heinlein's words demarcate the left and right in a manner similar to collectivists and individualists. There are those who desire power overall, while there are others who simply want to live their lives and leave everyone alone and have others treat them the same. This coincidentally describes the basic philosophies of the collectivist left and individualist right sides of the spectrum. But since the labels the left is willing to apply to itself pale in comparison to economic freedom, as always, they have to apply linguistic legerdemain in order to even have a chance in the marketplace of ideas. So the left uses several tactics to mitigate this disparity. Of course, leftists use capitalism instead of economic freedom or free enterprise. And, as we've outlined, they try to claim that this is a battle between communism and fascism. A century ago, back in the 1920s and 1930s, everyone correctly saw that communism and fascism were the evil cousins of collectivism, and people openly spoke out about it without reproach. The two were seen to be similar except for a few philosophical differences. There is this example from October 14th, 1927, when the American Federation of Labor denounced both the Reds, communists, and the fascists. Fascism likened to communism. President Greene said that the Federation was just as much opposed to fascism as it was to communism, as both were autocratic. We are inclined to place Lenin and Mussolini in the same class, and we are against them. Anyone paying attention for the last 90 years should note the left's use of the same old playbook, as in this appeal for Roosevelt from October 18, 1936, in which it was asserted that the Republican presidential candidate, Governor Alf Landon, aimed at a fascist state. In another campaign attack against the Republican candidate, from October 29, 1936, the warning was of a reaction under Landon that would lead eventually to communism or fascism. We know that candidate Landon's proposed reactionary retracement can lead but to communism or fascism. America is at the crossroads. Which road will the voters elect to follow? The answer we all know. They will follow the American road with President Roosevelt. It was in 1948 that Arthur M. Schlesinger, Jr., associate professor of history at Harvard, noted in a New York Times Magazine piece, In certain basic respects, a totalitarian state structure, a single party, a leader, a secret police, a hatred of political, cultural, and intellectual freedom, fascism and communism are clearly more like each other than they are like anything in between. Since that time, the leftist lie has evolved to the point that one authoritarian collectivist, centralized control, big government ideology is supposed to be vastly different from another authoritarian collectivist, centralized control, big government ideology. This is so the left can claim, as they have for going on 89 years, that they are in a death match with fascism. In reality, it's a conflict between leftist collectivist ideologies and economic freedom. There are many in the pro-freedom community of today willing to point out the lie. Why is this important? Why is it critical that we once again debunk and correct one of the left's biggest lies? It should be clear that with the win of Mamdani, the Islamo-Commie in New York, the Democrats are lurching to the far left, and the sides are shaping up as a battle between economic freedom and the societal slavery of collectivism. It is irrelevant how the latter is labeled: communism, fascism, socialism, or free stuff for everyone who votes for them. The big problem for leftists is that they look bad opposing freedom, so they have to lie and claim it's something else as a distraction. But make no mistake, it's a battle between freedom and slavery, good and evil. As Senator Mike Lee stated, conservatism is about limited government. Fascism is about total state control, leftist overreach on steroids. Don't fall for the leftist psyop. D. Parker is an engineer, inventor, wordsmith, and student of history.
Pass their agenda without Republicans' input in the future. But this is something Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told us to expect regardless.
Anyway, so the person she was interviewing was Lee Zeldin. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, motivation.
You know who's going to bail you out? You know who's going to come and rescue you? You know who's going to come and save the day? No one. Nobody's going to lift the weights for you. Nobody's going to do the pull-ups for you. Nobody's going to go out and put in the road work for you. You got to do all that yourself. Now I know in the morning, got that blanket giving you a warm hug. You got the pillow, which is whispering in your ear, telling you it's okay, telling you to stay just a little longer. But don't listen to them. They're lying to you. Listen to your alarm clock, which is telling you to get up and get some. Listen to the weight room, the pull-up bar, which is telling you to face reality. And listen to your will, which is telling you to get up and crush everything. Too tired, too hungry, too sore, too hot, too cold, too whatever. People ask me what I do when I get those little feelings running around. Well, let me tell you what I don't do. I don't tell everybody. As a matter of fact, I don't even let those words run around inside my own brain housing group. I keep it secure, lock it down. It's actually not that complicated. Are you going to work out today? Yes or no? Are you going to eat the donut? Yes or no? Are you going to win? Yes or no? Don't allow for any gray area in there. Get rid of the debate. Make the binary code decision, yes or no. And you know the right decision to make. So go and make it.
There are only 86,400 seconds in a day. And you got to not only operate in them, you got to do it quick. You got to do it fast. You got to do it in a hurry. Why? Because there's somebody else who's on the same track you are. Somebody else, they're on the same path that you are. It's somebody else just like you trying to do it. And sometimes they're working just as hard as you're working. They're putting in just as much sweat, just as much tears, just as much blood. But you just got to do it what? You got to do it faster than they do it. You got to do it quicker than they do it. Are you listening to what I'm saying? That's why I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, because if you're getting up at 6, you might be smarter than me. You might have more privilege than me. You might have more resources than me. You might, but I'm gonna get up earlier than you, and I'm gonna do it faster than you do it. So by the time you get up with all your resources, by the time you get up with all your stuff, I've already finished the race. You got to play hard. You You got to play physical. You got to play tough because the game itself is tough. But I know you got what it takes. The first thing we did was we dreamed. We wrote the dream down. We slept the dream. We ate the dream. We rehearsed the dream. We looked at the dream. We talked about the dream. We slept with the dream. We woke up to the dream. We wore the dream. And now, boom, it's our reality. And for some of you, you stop dreaming. You dream for a week and you stop because things around you don't look good. You dream for a month, then when you get hit in the mouth, you quit and you give up. You dream for a while, and when people tell you crazy, and when people tell you stupid, and when people tell you can never get done, you stop dreaming and you go back to knowledge. And I dare you to use your imagination. I dare you when you're broke to use your imagination. I dare you when you're rich to use your imagination. I dare you under every single circumstance. Keep dreaming. Keep looking at your dream. Keep focusing on your dream. Keep going after the dream because that's where true success is.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little meditation. And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. A little bit of Maria Bartiromo.
Critics are forgetting these illegal aliens have a choice. They didn't just make a choice when they illegally entered this country, but they have a choice today. They can decide to leave now, get a $1,000 exit bonus and a free flight home, potentially preserving the opportunity to return the right way, or they can stay here, they can be arrested, they can be deported, and never return back to the United States. I think that's a very generous offer of the American people of President Trump.
It's a great point.
So that's what this whole thing comes down to is free will. Does man, human beings, people have free will, yes or no? Obviously, they do. We know they do. So that's why that Republicans and conservatives are confused about the Democrats and liberals on this issue, because we think to ourselves, well, it's very obvious these people are using their free will to break our laws is regarding immigration. They just come across the border. They don't seem to give a damn about our laws. They're breaking our laws. They're using their free will to do so. So therefore, they should be punished. At a minimum, they should be repatriated. But the Democrats don't look at it that way. The Democrats are living up to their theory of determinism, that no one has free will, that everybody is forced to do what they do by powers beyond their control. So the people that come flooding across the border are forced to by two forces. Number one, poverty at home. Number two, richness in the United States. Or another way of putting it simpler is simple inequality of wealth. If the world had equality, wealth equality, none of these people would be coming across the border. That's their theory. But since there is no wealth equality, since we're so much richer than El Salvador and Guatemala and all these other places, they have no choice but to come here by hook or by crook. And this lady that's on Maria's show is correct. She's right when she says they had the choice to come here, and now they have the choice to leave. We know they have free will, and so when somebody's coming to you and giving you this deterministic crapola, that's the way to deal with it, is tell them, no, we have free will. They exercise their free will to violate the law, so they deserve to be repatriated to their country. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now a little bit of John Cobelt.
Yeah, and now one of the states, oh geez, I forgot. I heard it this morning, wants to impose a 5% tax on your stock market holdings. Even if you haven't sold them, okay? You haven't sold your stocks and recorded the profit. You just have the stocks, and they want to tax you 5%. Well, you do that, you are going to lose every person who owns a significant amount of stock. Because those aren't profits. Because the stock could drop at any point. You could have the stock market drop at 30 or 40% in a week. It's happened several times in our lifetime. But they want to tax what it is now. Nobody is going to sit around and let that happen. Everyone's going to move their residence to another state. I mean, the left wing is so far left and so extreme now, and they just want to confiscate all the money that any wealthy person has legally accumulated. I don't understand that.
There you go. I don't understand that. Excuse me. So Cobelt is the gift that just keeps on giving. I mean, he's stupid. He doesn't read, apparently. It's easy to figure out why it is that the left keeps doing this. There's two theories. One is called the benevolent universe premise. Two premises, that's what it is. Well, actually only one real premise, and that's the benevolent universe premise. And then there's the phony premise called the malevolent universe premise. the benevolent one says that the universe smiles on us, and it's knowable, and because of that, we can succeed, that success is to be expected. The other side says the opposite. Failure is to be expected because the universe is mysterious and unknowable. So the question then becomes for the people on the left who think that the universe is scary and unknowable and failure is the norm. Why do we have so many rich people? The left comes back and says simple, because the left gets lucky, cheats, or a combination of the two. That is why you keep hearing people on the left demanding that the rich pay their fair share. Okay? And that's what Cobalt doesn't understand. If he understood it, then he'd be able to call the left out as he should. Now, that's the other issue, is he's, again, still talking to the First Church of John Cobalt here. He should be talking to the Democrats and explaining to Democrats why it is that having this 5% tax on unrealized gains, that's what it is. This tax on unrealized gains is a bad idea for them. Because remember, Democrats don't think the same way that Republicans do. Republicans respect property and property rights. The left doesn't. They don't care about that. They want single-payer health care. They want the eradication of climate change. They want all that. They want a perfect society is what it boils down to. So you got to explain to them, how is this going to get in the way of their creation of a perfect society? Because you need the Democrats. You would think we would have learned the lesson a long time ago. We don't run the country. Okay, as much as the left might want to pretend that we do, we don't run the country. We need Democrats, and we need their help to keep and maintain this republic. So you have to think like a Democrat, appeal to the Democrats, and then you're going to have more influence than just being, than the Los Angeles Times says, which is they just dismiss you as some kind of a right-wing kook. So, again, John Cobalt, stupid. He could be smart. Read it. If he reads a book, he understands a couple of things, then he would understand why the left wants to punish the rich. It's because of the malevolent universe premise. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, what does the phrase, if you're explaining you're losing, mean in debates? This was said by Ronald Reagan, speaking of political campaigns. From the perspective of your audience, if you have to explain yourself, you come off looking desperate to convince. As a consequence, you lose the high ground. From a more philosophical perspective, when you have a clear conscience and strong conviction towards the positions you take, your values, truth, and direction, you don't need the opinions or consent of others. As a consequence, you don't need to explain yourself. However, if you yourself are not convinced of the validity and truth of your position, or you can't fully justify your choices, then you continue to expel words in an attempt to create the illusion of certainty. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Marine Le Pen.
Mesdames, Messieurs, Emmanuel Macron a nommé un nouveau Premier ministre. Cette nomination, la 5e en 8 ans, intervient alors qu'il n'a pas de majorité à l'Assemblée nationale et que le pouvoir en place recueille à peine 15% d'opinion favorable. À l'évidence, l'esprit de la Ve République, qui commande de faire arbitrer par le peuple les crises politiques ou sociales, aurait dû conduire à une dissolution. En faisant un choix différent, alors même que la France connaît à la fois une crise parlementaire et une agitation de rue, le président de la République prend le risque d'un blocage institutionnel du pays. De son côté, LFI a décidé de mettre le désordre tant à l'Assemblée que dans les rues avec des appels à la violence, notamment contre la police, ou par des discours communautaristes. Tout cela est inadmissible en République. Le Rassemblement national, avec son allié UDR d'Éric Ciotti, vous propose la voie de la stabilité, celle qui, en s'appuyant sur les institutions du général de Gaulle et sur le peuple, remettra la France en ordre, pour garantir à chacun d'entre vous de belles perspectives de vie. Ce qui arrive à la France, son déclassement et sa ruine, ne sont pas le fruit du hasard, mais de choix politiques souvent absurdes et toujours toxiques avec lesquels nous pouvons et devons rompre. D'autres choix politiques sont possibles. Le changement n'attend plus. Rejoignez-nous.
And that was Marine Le Pen. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, the preamble to the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now from an account called Dr. Recht.
Im Video sieht man einen Mann vor einer Polizeikette, der offenbar diskutiert. Ein Beamter fordert ihn mehrfach auf, Abstand zu halten und wegzugehen. Als der Mann nicht reagiert, schubst der Polizisten zurück. Kurz darauf tritt der Mann erneut näher, woraufhin der Beamte ihn wieder zurückdrängt. In solchen Situationen ist die rechtliche Lage meist klar. Wer sich einer polizeilichen Maßnahme widersetzt, etwa einer Absperrung oder Platzverweisung, muss mit Zwang rechnen. Auch körperlich. Solange dieser Zwang verhältnismäßig bleibt, ist er durch Polizeirecht gedeckt. Wer sich absichtlich nähert, obwohl er mehrfach gewarnt wurde, riskiert nicht nur eine Eskalation, sondern unter Umständen auch ein Strafverfahren, etwa wegen Widerstands gegen Vollstreckungsbeamte.
And that was Dr. Recht, what he said. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now from a book that's called Good Inside. What's the opposite of understanding? For this argument's sake, it's convincing. Convincing is the attempt to prove a singular reality, to prove that only one thing is true. Convincing is an attempt to be right, and as a result make the other person wrong. It rests on the assumption that there's only one correct viewpoint. And then my question is this supposed to be convincing? Further, convincing has one goal in mind, being right. And here's the unfortunate consequence of being right. The other person feels unseen and unheard, at which point most people become infuriated and combative, because it feels as if the other person does not accept your realness or worth. Feeling unseen and unheard makes connection impossible. Understanding two things are true and convincing one thing is true are diametrically opposed ways of approaching other people, so a powerful first step in any interaction is to notice which mode you're in. When you're in one thing is true mode, you're judgmental of and reactive to someone else's experience because it feels like an assault on your own truth. As a result, you will seek to prove your own point of view, which in turn makes the other person defensive because they need to uphold the realness of their experience. In one thing is true mode, exchanges escalate quickly. Each person thinks they're arguing about the content of the conversation when in fact they're trying to defend that they are a real, worthy person with a real, truthful experience. And again, is this convincing? Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Jimmy Fila.
Love that. But the thing is, Nancy is 85 years old, and she wants to hang out with people her own age, so she's joining the Senate. There you go. Like, how could you look at that picture and not argue that we need term limits in Congress, you know? I've seen younger faces on money, you know? So dumb. But as divided as our politics might be, the president gave Pelosi a very heartfelt salute in the Oval Office after hearing the news. Take it away.
I think she did the country a great service by retiring. I think she was a tremendous liability for the country.
And I
thought she was an evil woman who did a poor job, who cost the country a lot in damages and in reputation.
Yo, Trump, right? Trump totally missed his true calling doing Hallmark cards. You know what I mean? So true. Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm glad you're retired. No one likes you, you know? Sign from everybody. Of course, Trump was probably still worked up because Nancy trashed him earlier in the week during an interview of her own. Watch this comment.
It'll sound like I'm awful about Trump because he's just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth. But anyway.
You think he's the worst thing on the face of the earth?
I do, yeah.
That's why you're not supposed to put vodka in her can of Ensure, okay? She gets loopy. I mean, seriously, I don't want to downplay the significance of Pelosi retiring because she is very respected in California. So much so, Hollywood is already working on a Reese Witherspoon movie about Nancy's career. It's called The Devil Wears Depends. And look at this guy go. But I laugh about her and Trump trashing each other in public because they supposedly get along really well in private. I only know that because at the Patriot Awards the other night, Pete Hegseth actually told me backstage that Trump actually sent the Pelosi's on a cruise this weekend. I mean... Stop it, Jimmy. Stop it. Stop it. What's so cool about the government showing us all these video explosions is that in addition to drugs, every one of those boats contains a box of the Epstein files, which is...
And that was Jimmy Fila. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Apollo.
2. The anomaly that caused the highest pulse rates during Apollo 11 occurred a minute after the landing. It was not mentioned in the press coverage or in the official NASA history, probably because nothing came of it. But for a few minutes, it scared the living daylights out of the handful of people on the ground who knew what was happening. On Telmu's screen in the MOCR and on the Lunar Module System's screen in SPAN, readings showed that pressure and temperature were rising alarmingly in one of the descent stage's fuel lines. After the engine had shut down, a blockage had apparently occurred, almost certainly Grumman's Tom Kelly in SPAN believed because liquid helium had frozen a slug of fuel left in the pipe. As they watched the screens, the residual heat from the engine, which had been operating at 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit when the Eagle had landed, was moving up toward the frozen fuel, and the question bothering Kelly was what would happen when the trapped fuel suddenly got much warmer. There's no telling what it will do, he told Lowe, who by this time was on the phone with Kelly. The fuel was unstable when heated, and Kelly saw a real possibility that the frozen fuel would explode like a small hand grenade. The MER and the Grumman Control Center at Bethpage had seen the same pressure readings. Men in both rooms were on the phone to each other, trying to estimate what would happen if the fuel exploded. The best guess was that even a small explosion was likely to squirt fuel or oxidizer into the combustion chamber, which was still thousands of degrees hot. Some of the people at Grumman argued for an immediate abort, launching the ascent stage and leaving the problem behind. But besides ruining the rest of the plans for the first landing, an immediate launch was impossible. By the time the problem occurred, Columbia was out of position for a rendezvous. An option favored by Kelly was to burp the descent engine, restart it at 10% power for a split second, and relieve the pressure. By now, all the phone lines were open. Lowe in Mocher, Simpkinson and Kelly in Span, Arabian in the Mur. Arabian argued against burping the engine, at least until they knew more about the attitude of the LEM on the lunar surface. If Eagle was already tilted at an angle, even a slight thrust from the descent engine at 1/6 gravity might push the LEM over on its side. As they talked, they saw the pressure in the fuel line start down, edge up slightly once more, then fall abruptly and for good. The blockage had melted or the line had ruptured without damaging anything essential. In either case, the crisis that had flared so suddenly was over as quickly as it had begun. It was an object lesson in Kraft's precept about not doing anything if you don't know what to do. The second anomaly occurred when Neil Armstrong, trying to maneuver in the LEM with his pressure suit and backpack on, backed into the circuit breaker for the ascent engine's arming switch and broke it. This was not a trivial matter, for the ascent engine ignition button wouldn't work until the ascent engine had been armed. Neither, however, was it a crisis. The Eagle didn't have a backup arming switch, but it did have such redundant wiring that, given time, the Grumman engineers would be able to work out a sequence of switches that would reroute signals in such a way as to arm the ascent engine, even without the arming switch. The Murr and Beth Page figured out how to do it while the astronauts were walking on the moon. While the astronauts rested, they simulated the new sequence and passed the solution on to Span, where it was reviewed and given to the Mocher for transmission to Eagle. The anomaly that resisted solution the longest concerned the program alarm. The people in the Mocher and the Murr understood what had triggered the alarm. The computer was failing to keep up with its work. But even after Eagle was on the ground, nobody in the Mocher, Span, the Murr, or at MIT knew why. In a few hours, that same computer would be called upon to perform a lunar rendezvous, and the possibility that troubled everyone was that the computer failure would recur in a more serious form. Determining what had happened took MIT's teams in Houston and Cambridge nearly the whole 21 hours that the Eagle was on the moon. Throughout the night and into the morning, they burrowed deep into the computer system, searching for the mysterious something that had been eating up computer capacity during the descent. They ran sims of the software, sims of the hardware, and still they were unable to determine the source of the problem. On the morning of July 21st, George Silver, a heavy-set man who looked more like a hard-hat construction worker than the software expert he was, walked into the Apollo room at MIT's instrumentation lab to supervise the ascent phase. Ordinarily, Silver would have been in Span or the Murr, but he was in the process of taking over the system's test division at the instrumentation lab. When Silver arrived that morning, the team that had worked the descent was still there, unshaven and red-eyed, still working on the program alarm mystery. Something was stealing all the computer time, they told Silver. Examining the printout, Silver was reminded of some simulations they had run on the computer on LEM-1, the first lunar module, flown unmanned as part of Apollo 5 18 months earlier. At one point during the tests, they had turned off the simulator and just let the lines hang open. On that occasion, Silver had discovered that the computer kept trying to find angles and sines and cosines that matched whatever the signal might be, however meaningless. The situation with Apollo 11 looked much the same to him. He asked the weary MIT team whether they had checked the rendezvous radar angles. Yes, they had, and the angles were moving pretty fast. Every time they moved even a little bit, Silver reminded them, that was a cycle steal. The computer was recalculating from scratch, and it could eat up as much as 18% of the computer's time. What might be causing the rendezvous radar to calculate angles so obsessively? They hadn't by any chance had the rendezvous radar set to auto, had they? Steve Bales had stayed up long enough to watch the EVA and then collapsed on a bunk in the controller's lounge. When at 10 the next morning he took his place in the Mocher to work the ascent phase, he learned that Span still hadn't received an explanation of the computer alarm anomaly. Bales was surprised. He wouldn't have thought that any computer problem in the world could have stumped that team of people for that long once they knew the symptoms. He was disturbed as well. In planning the flights, everyone had always assumed that the ascent would be more difficult than the descent. For a LEM going down, the surface of the moon was hard to miss. For Lem going up, the CSM was a small and elusive target. The prospect of lifting off with a computer that had been flighty and overburdened on the way down was not reassuring, and Bales was in no frame of mind for more dramatics. He had had enough excitement the preceding afternoon to last him for the rest of his career. Bales was sitting at his guidance console in the Mocher when the call came through just 30 minutes before the scheduled liftoff. Tell the crew to turn the rendezvous radar switch to manual, and they won't have any more computer alarms. I gotta believe you, Bales said, and passed the word on to Glyn Lunny, who was flight for the ascent. Lunny had to believe it as well. It was one of the last messages sent up to the crew before liftoff from the moon. Set the rendezvous radar switch to manual.
And that was Chapter 25, Part 2 of Apollo by Charles Murray and Catherine Bly Cox. Back in a minute.
Thank you. And this is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that feminism is power for men.